Very good to have you with us. Tell us more about your letter to the President, what's in it, and what do you expect him to say?
Well, I think the letter was written as a citizen of this country that has played some role in bringing us to a point of freedom and democracy and a constitutional democracy. And I think, like the majority of South Africans, we've been shocked by the events of the past 2 weeks, and in particular, the response of government, that there has to be a point where we have to see ourselves at a crossroads. And given that I'm part of an international governance organization, I see all the signs of a failing state. And we have this choice. Either we're going to come out of the turmoil of the last 2 weeks stronger, with a conviction towards ethical leadership and ethical governance. And we are going to deal with the crises that we face that are deep-seated in our country, around joblessness, hunger, and particularly address decisively the issue of corruption that has seen 57 billion rand stolen from the public purses.
Staggering, isn't it? I mean, you talk about a possible failed state, and I don't think South Africans really comprehend how bad that is, because generally when that happens, there's violence. We've seen it in so many other countries around the world, and also we've got so many people using this desperate situation for their nefarious activities.
Precisely, and this is why it connects so much to the issue of governance, because people that have usurped our democracy and undermined very powerful state-owned agencies. There's a nexus of corruption that involves very prominent multinational companies like the McKinseys, the SAPs, the KPMGs, and the Bell Pottingers, and this has been outrageous that we've allowed the situation to take place that has implicated people in the highest echelons of government. So, in a context where the crisis of our country has deepened, not just because of the COVID pandemic, because they're deep-seated and deep-rooted, and we've done very little to address the cry, the pleas by young people, 75% today who are technically unemployed and who virtually have no hope of getting a formal job in their lifetimes. There's been a bloodbath, not just in the in the private sector, but also in the informal sector, which people have depended for their livelihoods to put food on the table. And yet we've had a situation where government knew that this was going to happen. And if they didn't know it was going to happen, they should be fired.
Absolutely.
Because
I'm just
all
wondering,
the signs were
sorry,
there.
Jay, can I just jump in here? I mean, I'm just wondering why they'd want to change, because so many of them are on the gravy change. I mean, why gravy train? Why change a good thing? And I'm also wondering what the president can really do. I mean, there's so much that's ANC doctrine, sort of immovable. What can he really do?
Well, the plea that I made in the letter has been to put the country, the constitution, and our people above the ANC. We cannot allow the factionalism of the ANC to lead us down a path of a failed state. And therefore, we need decisive action from the president to make sure there's unambiguous support for the Zondo Commission, that we put into effect the arrest and the prosecution of those that have been complicit in state capture, and we send a signal to South Africa that no one is above the law. No one will have impunity, whether in the public sector, private sector, or even civil society. I think the second thing is that we need an investigation. We need a commission of inquiry, whether it's through Human Rights Commission, to investigate what happened. What are the facts? Why did it take so long for us to mobilize the security forces when we knew, even as far back as the 80s, where these flashpoints of violence would be? Why was there no reaction?
Yeah.
Why were the SAPS completely under-resourced and under-equipped to deal with it? And so, yes, we need to know the facts and we need accountability. This comes back to the issue of governance. South Africans are saying we've had enough. We're not a poor country. We're a rich country, and there should be no reason.
You wonder how it's going to change, considering this has been a long time coming. I mean, the only decent thing that happened after these riots, or during the riots, was seeing communities getting together and helping each other. How much can communities do, knowing that government is ineffective?
Well, this is precisely. We've been in this situation many times in our past. There's no time for panic. It's time for steady hands and calm minds. We need to calm the hating down, the race baiting that we are seeing. We need decisive action to arrest those people, even on social media, that have broken the laws, criminally broken the laws in our country.
Regardless of who they are.
Regardless of who they are. And most importantly, we have to recognize there's a deep crisis of joblessness, of hunger in our country, of the lack, of anger and resentment about the lack of delivery, and even the transformation agenda around land reform, around economic, transformation. And we cannot do it through government any longer. So out of this turmoil of the last 2 weeks, what I have seen that gives me optimism is that thousands of people stood up and said, "Not in my name." And those people are doing things. I know when I go into townships, I see scores and hundreds of young people doing something without government. And I think government now needs to put its money where its mouth has been, not in these big corporatist deals where we get together in five-star hotels and sign some pact. But there are thousands of people on the ground who are doing things that need their direct support without bureaucracy, without creating more white elephants in our country, and where people are growing their own food. And this COVID pandemic has brought out a deep sense of community and solidarity. And so we have to put ourselves back on that track and see how we can get government not to support, people at the top, but actually put the money into communities, promoting the type of livelihoods and social entrepreneurship that will make South Africa a success, and I think that's why it's got to apply itself today, and not to do it top down. It has to be bottom up. All we want from the top is ethical leadership and good governance.
We do indeed, and it's a no-brainer, isn't it? Jay Naidoo, very good to talk to you, and I really enjoyed reading your letter. I hope you get a good response, and we can talk about that then.